The following video contains spoilers for the Digital Circus Episode 9, The Last. Hey, hi, yeah, so this is actually a sort of expanded edition of a video I have already made. Now that the finale is out on YouTube, I wanted to use some of the footage from the episode, fix some editing mistakes, and actually expand on some of my thoughts and ideas a bit. So many of you had so many things to share and say as well in the comments of the original video that I wanted to give a space to highlight some of them. You can watch the original cut of the video on my channel or by clicking on the card on screen now. Anyway, here is a slightly edited disclaimer. I'm going to be using the word queer a lot today as a generalization for the LGBTQ experience. Many may still recognize this term as a slur, but it has been since reclaimed by the LGBTQ community and is one that I actually use to describe myself. I'll also be using some outdated terms such as the word transvestite in the form of quotes from historical figures. Please note that these terms are outdated. Please also note that if there is any censorship of any of these terms in this video, that this is due to YouTube systems sometimes flagging videos that use these terms as hate speech, when what I'm attempting to do here is talk about a topic and educate during Pride Month at that, so please leave me alone, YouTube. I want to get something else across before I really get into talking about things today. If you are straight, cis, or both, frankly, it's most likely that you're not going to understand a lot of feelings that I talk about here today. And therefore, you're probably not going to agree with my takes here. And I don't mean that to belittle you in any way. Honestly, there's even queer people out there that are not going to be able to understand exactly what I'm talking about today. And I don't mean that you won't be able to understand it in an intellectual or thoughtful way. You, in fact, absolutely still can understand what I'm going to talk about in these ways, but you might not be able to understand them empathetically or emotionally. Like, the things I talk about might not be something that calls to you or speaks to you on a deep level, or is something that you've necessarily experienced. So you just won't get it. However, if you do get it, if you do understand it, if you do see yourself in a lot of what I talk about today, then all I can say, without outright spoiling things before the end of this spoiler warning, is it's okay. I've seen the TV glow too, and I've turned it off many times throughout my life. You aren't alone, and you will never be. This is the official end of the spoiler warning. Watch and listen at your own discretion.
I'm just a misunderstood little chicken fetus in an egg that needs to be cracked open. Well, I am not. There's nothing more to me. So please, just stop looking.
I think it was clear the second that we saw Jax's nightmare sequence in episode 8 that Jax has a lot of deep-rooted shame about something. There has always been something just underneath the surface that Jax has never brought up, but seeing Jax's fear to be so clearly shown as the fear of being stripped back, being vulnerable, only to be laughed at was something that really stuck out to me. I couldn't tell why, of course, what the reasoning for this could be, until I saw the finale. The words trans or transgender are never used in this finale. I want to make that clear. However, the story of Jax that we are shown in this episode shows that Jax is something in the trans community that we often call an egg. And this, straight up, is not a theory. It is the story Gooseworks is telling us. And I'm here to prove it to you by breaking down the character moments, the hints we get, and the outright queer symbolism and storytelling. To start, let's jump into some queer history. June isn't only the month that marks the end of the amazing digital circus. It's also Pride Month, a month where the LGBTQ community comes together, celebrates themselves, and engage in festivals and drag shows and parades. All sorts of celebratory fanfare all centered around the collective idea of being proud of who we are. All Pride Month long, we celebrate. And in today's age, I think it's easy for some to misunderstand why.
In the 1950s and 60s, homosexuality was still considered sodomy. The punishments varied greatly by state, ranging from heavy fines to imprisonment. In society, members of the gay community were often subject to violence, harassment, and discrimination.
Founders of the first Pride marches, like Craig Rodwell and Brenda Howard, emphasized that pride is vital because visibility and unapologetic celebration challenge systemic shame, which every queer person can struggle with. Through marches, they aim to publicly claim space, foster community, and secure fundamental human rights while promoting the pride they feel in being queer. Pioneering activists like Rodwell and Howard explained the importance of pride through challenging shame and invisibility. Activist Craig Rodwell, who co-organized the first march in 1970, noted that parades were crucial for the community to come out of the shadows, overcome historical oppression, and show the world that LGBTQ people exist and are not ashamed or afraid anymore. Brenda Howard, famously known as the mother of Pride for conceiving the first week-long series of Pride events in 1970, established Pride to ensure the community could celebrate together rather than only organizing in times of crisis. Marsha P. Johnson is a historically famous trans woman and was a legendary advocate and figure of early Pride. She was not only a prominent protester during the 1969 Stonewall riots, actively fighting back against police harassment of the LGBTQ people that had been rampant in the many years before. In 1970, Johnson and fellow trans woman activist Sylvia Rivera co-founded STAR, the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, which provided food, shelter, and a family environment for homeless transgender and queer youth. She once highlighted why individual, unapologetic pride is crucial in this quote: "If a transvestite doesn't say, 'I'm gay and I'm proud and I'm transvestite,' then nobody else is going to hop up there and say, 'I'm gay and I'm proud and I'm a transvestite' for them, because they're not transvestites." Trans women particularly deal with a lot of shame. Publicly, interpersonally, all around. Shame is such a common theme in the transgender experience, as often trans people grow up trying to fit molds and expectations set upon them due to their gender assigned at birth, fail to reach these, and then are left with deep and complex shame that can severely impact their health. And it's truly not just mental health. Extensive research shows that chronic shame significantly harms both mental and physical health. It triggers prolonged biological stress, drives inflammatory responses, immune dysregulations, and often the shame makes them engage in medical avoidance rather than seeking help. Trans women grow up with a lot of expectations set upon them to fit the mold of what it means to be a man. They cannot be too soft, too empathetic, engage in anything remotely feminine, or they are ridiculed by their loved ones and their peers. Way too often, trans women growing up will hear, "You run like a girl," or "Quit crying like a girl," or some variation thereof. And every "like a girl" saying is an outright insult to who they are as a person, even though deep, deep down, they truly are young girls. Just trying to laugh, have fun, be themselves, just trying to live. Truly, I think that not many folks in the queer community throughout the world can feel the weight of systemic shame more than trans women. Prolonged exposure to this sort of shame means a queer person's nervous system learns that authenticity is unsafe. This shapes behaviors and can lead to anxiety, depression, and self-isolating tendencies, and even self-harming behavior. It can affect their everyday life, their relationships, and how they see themselves. Trans women in particular deal with large statistical rates of homelessness, evictions, familial rejection, domestic violence, assault, hate crimes, and dramatically higher rates of psychological distress. So, going back to JAX, the story of JAX that we are shown in this episode shows that JAX is something in the trans community that we often call an egg. An egg is a slang term that is often used for a transgender person who hasn't realized or accepted that they are trans yet. JAX opens up to Ribbit and tells her about life back in the real world. JAX talks about having a weird relationship with his father, and that they were never close. JAX states that he was always there, but not really in a meaningful way to JAX's life. JAX also states that he felt his father never felt proud of him, and JAX always felt like a huge disappointment. You can sense his feelings of shame in his words and demeanor. He feels shame for never being able to meet his father's expectations of him. His father abandoned him after the parents split, and this is a sort of shame wound that can leave lasting and intense scars on a child's psyche, especially since JAX also notes that his mother started treating him differently after his father left, like his mother was also ashamed of him. It seems as if JAX reminded his mother of his father, and she would really start to hate him for this reason. When JAX showed weakness, he was less of a man than his father, and when JAX lashed out against the words being said to him, he was just as bad as his father. JAX outright says it's like she missed and hated her ex-husband all at the same time, and JAX was the one that all of those feelings were taken out on. JAX tells Ribbit that one day he was done with the shaming, the abuse, and he tried to tell his mother something about himself that would get her off his back. Something that would explain why JAX cannot meet these expectations his parents have had for him. Something vulnerable about him personally that would make all of the boxes not fitting suddenly make sense. But to this information, JAX's mother laughs at him, then gets angry with him, and things get ugly, in Jax's words. Jax says the insults got personal and insulting and humiliating, and that they didn't stop, and that at the end of all of this berating, she had the gall to hug him. Jax's psyche was already negatively affected by the confusing dynamics of his mother and the absence of his father, and this blow-up fight and berating of Jax only to end on a hug, this show of affection after tearing him apart. It makes him angry, of course, and he rejects her, pushing his mother away and to the ground. She did not get up, and this led to Jax running and never knowing if he'd actually fatally harmed her. After this, Jax was homeless and eventually stumbled into the abandoned warehouse, put a headset on his head, and had a copy of his brain scanned into the amazing digital circus. Then, in a truly telling moment, the moment that made, I think, every single trans person in the theater gasp in awe, Ribbit removes her pink ribbon, puts it on Jax's head, and tells Jax that the secret is safe with her. They sit and they gaze at each other in an incredibly vulnerable way that shows they have connected, and that in this brief, quiet moment, Jax finally feels safe. Safe enough to keep the ribbon on and look at Ribbit in a way that goes beyond words. It is a moment of pure trust and vulnerability. However, the doorbell of reality rings when Kaufmo arrives looking for the others. The doorbell sends Jax back into the habit of shame, and the shame sends him into panic. He throws the bow to the ground and tells Ribbit that he will never speak to her again if she tells anyone what Jax just told her. Ribbit reacts confused, but of course says that she won't before Jax frantically leaves. Right after this, we are shown Jax having a panic attack, yelling the self-depreciating lines of "Why am I so stupid? Why am I so stupid?" over and over again. His trauma with his parents makes him believe that he is now unsafe with Ribbit, and he goes on to show it in his actions of shutting her out. This whole flashback sequence, Jax's story, this is something I instantly understood as a transgender story without the word trans ever being said. Now, I was with friends who happened to be queer as well, but not trans when I saw this movie, and they told me that they did not get that the story was telling us that Jax was trans at first, because there was of course more going on with the reveal that he had possibly killed his mother, and I think that that's what they personally were focused on. And it seems truly that there's a lot of fans out there that also weren't really understanding or getting the ending. Like, the amount of comments I saw on spoiler spaces post-movie release that said people weren't getting the ending, or worse, were outright misunderstanding it. Like, a lot of people thought that the "Isn't She Lovely" number was for Pomni and Jax, for example. Like, they thought it was like a ship thing. But I'm sorry. We're clearly shown shots of Jax, not Pomni, the whole montage. She's in a few of the things, but the focus is on Jax, and it goes on to focus on how Pomni and the others contain Jax. It's about Jax and how Jax is trans. The song itself, "Isn't She Lovely," is about the birth of a girl. I saw this character that had always put on a mask, and now I understood why. It was all a defense mechanism and denial rooted in an inability to be authentic due to the need to protect themselves from the shame and ridicule of who they truly are. Jax was homeless, and it was a direct result of them telling their mother the truth about herself. Jax spent so much of their life running from the shame and the ridicule of being different from how his parents wanted him to be, that he's developed a system of pushing people away once they get too close or try to get too vulnerable with him, because in this way, they will never be able to harm him the way his mother or father did. They will never be able to weaponize his shame against him. I think it's here that I'll state that I'm going to use interchanging pronouns for Jax going forwards. I'll be using he, they, and she, all referring to Jax. Of course, the Jax we know only ever goes by male pronouns. It seems even the Jax in the real world does as well, as at the time of the characters being shown their real world counterparts, Leroy, or Jax, still goes by he and him. However, the trans woman themes are of course more apparent than ever with the "Isn't She Lovely" number. And it alludes that with Leroy getting access to the queer community through Riley, aka Zubal's bar, that the future could hold she/her pronouns for JAX. JAX is clearly a trans woman that struggles with accepting herself, and in the spirit of pride, I personally must go forward with holding space for her as a trans character and honoring that by using she and her for JAX, because that just feels right to me. However, of course, we never see JAX or Leroy come to terms with things for themselves, so this leaves discussing what pronouns are best to refer to this character or characters as a sort of gray area, and I'm honestly sure there will be fandom arguments about it in the coming weeks. Many will have different opinions on what's right. And with that, what I've decided is right for myself and this video is, for now anyway, to use these three pronouns interchangeably. You, of course, are welcome to make your own decision. But anyway, JAX is a trans woman. The Daisy theory was a theory that was around for a while in the fandom, but that I feel wasn't exactly very popular. But it was the theory that deep down JAX was a trans woman. There are some in the fandom that have caught on to some themes of overcompensating masculinity with JAX. These moments where JAX tries hard to prove his assigned gender to the world.
This is what peak male performance looks like. My ears and tail are kind of the pinnacle of masculinity.
And other themes like the intense avoidance of femininity and things deemed too feminine.
What is this? I don't like this. Slice of life animes are the worst ones. It's embarrassing.
The depersonalization.
You know none of this is real, right?
All of these themes together, as some other trans women have put it, alludes to the idea of a trans woman in vicious denial. Denial is often a shield against the social fears and systemic struggles tied to being trans. The truth is that denial is a defense. Denial is the tool the brain uses to protect itself when the truth feels too dangerous to process all at once. For JAX, accepting the truth means facing the terrifying possibility of being ostracized, laughed at, or even losing family. Denial serves as a barrier against the threat of being misunderstood, judged, or cast out by loved ones. JAX's story is one of how denial and rejection of the self can make you into a bad person as you run from it and are inauthentic to who you are. This is a story that isn't often talked about during Pride anymore. The story of someone in denial. Pride has become so about being prideful in who we are as trans people that we don't really have as much space to highlight those that may feel it unsafe to be proud of who they are. Because here's a look into what family life can look like for someone like JAX. The following is a scene from the hit show Pose. This scene contains transphobia, homophobia, familial abuse, physical abuse, and is all around a tough scene to watch. But please be advised before I play this clip. You can jump to this time on the screen if you'd like to skip it, but here it is.
Dwayne, what are you wearing, boy?
It's Halston. It's Halston.
Who do you think you're talking to? Come here. You walk around like you're the man of the house, but last time I checked, my name is on the deed. I'm the one paying the mortgage, keeping a roof over your head. This is my house, and you have the audacity to enter it wearing a dress? We talked about this.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
And what did I say?
Told me to stop wearing women's clothes.
I said I do not want a cross-dressing homosexual in my home.
I'm not a homosexual.
What do you call a man who wears dresses and makeup?
I am not a cross-dresser or a man.
Excuse me?
I am a woman.
Take it off.
No.
Take it! No! No! Stop it!
Look at yourself.
Look!
This was the reason that Pride came about in the first place. Because of those forced into denial like JAX and forced to hide like Elektra. Those that were lesbian, gay, bi, trans, or somewhere in between it all and needed a place to come together and have pride in ourselves and who we were, because these are the ways in which the world treats us. Before 1969, queer people were harassed and beaten and even killed in the streets just for walking them and wearing the clothing of a different gender than the one that they were assigned. Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg, a novel noted by many queer historians as one of the most important pieces of queer literature to date, features several brutal, harrowing scenes of police violence and sexual assault targeting the protagonist, Jess, and her queer and working class community. These scenes are deeply painful and traumatic, but serve as a historical reflection and reminder of the systemic oppression faced by the LGBTQ and especially transgender people in the mid-20th century America. Police frequently raided queer gathering spaces and bars, rounding up gender non-conforming individuals with extreme physical force and malice. This was common practice, especially in New York at the time, but many don't know about it today. When I read this book, I talked to my father about it, who happened to be born in 1969, and he had never heard of such violence occurring. But there's countless documented cases of not just these brutal raids, but of outright gender-based violence. In one notable and highly graphic encounter in the Stone Butch Blues, officers brutally assault Jess to strip away her clothes that aid in her gender expression. They yank up her shirt, tear down her binder, and physically molest her to degrade and humiliate her for not conforming to the strict gender binaries. Jess also experiences severe sexual trauma and violence at the hands of the police, and I definitely cannot go into that without being censored by YouTube. But this book is well known for its historic way of highlighting the dangers of being trans, not just during this time, but throughout history, and we've, of course, come a long way from where we were in a time like 1969, but the fact is that there are several hundreds of thousands of trans people that have to suffer shame and fear and outright violence still to this day. And to truly drive this point home, here are the names of all of the trans women that we have lost in just the last 30 days due to this violence. Michelle Jimenez took her life. Persia Amara Conway, murdered, age 33. Reina Miguena, stabbed in the street, age 26. Jasmin, a 26-year-old in Bangladesh, throat slit. Chandini of India, violent head trauma, age 35. Tutu Santos Barbosa, beaten to death. Kimberly Duran García, stabbed in the street, age 33. Erykah Caldwell, throat cut, age 41. Riana of Brazil, shot, age 23. Kelly Lara, shot. Ashley Bernal Garcia, burned. Yulixa Consuelo Tozola, murdered, age 52. Tatiana Cerrato Pineda, burned, age 29. João of Brazil, shot. Celine Ribeiro Gois, shot in the street, age 39. Angélica of Brazil, shot, age 25. Juniper Blessing, stabbed, age 19. Luana Faria de Silva Oliveira, strangled, age 29. Jasmin, from Toronto, Canada, murdered. A still unnamed woman from Brazil, beaten to death. Deloresse of Cameroon, throat cut, age 35. Sherazade from Ecuador, shot. Marcos Noah Mejía, shot, age 22. Mariana Balestros Restrepo, shot, age 19. Radhika Jadhav, took her life, age 35. Daniela Rive Rico, shot, age 23. Estefania Delgado, otherwise known as Fanny, stabbed, age 23. Samira Fernandez Neta, killed while sleeping by assailants who broke into her home, age 27. Bianca Axa Rosa da Fonseca, arson attack, age 36. Dayana Pavón, hanged in her own home. Cecilia Cardona, run over by a truck, age 47. And I need you to know that some of these atrocities were even carried out by loved ones. All of these dead girls are reasons for trans women to stay closeted, to stay an egg, to stay in denial and never explore those parts of their mind and soul. Staying in denial is easier and safer in this world than being authentic. There's thousands of people out there that choose to never come out or face their feelings about their gender expression out of fear and just being too stuck in denial to ever face themselves. In relation to this idea, let's talk about the different versions of JAX we see in the finale real quick. I think that all these versions of JAX are the masks or personas he puts on for the people around him. These aren't just how he sees the main cast, it's how he feels the main cast see him. He feels Radhika sees him as a cold and unempathetic monster. He sees Gangle as an emotionally volatile girl he projects his own self-hatred and jealousy onto. And he feels Zubul sees him as some cartoonish villain, a sort of stupid joke no matter what he does. When Pomni enters the room where all of these versions of JAX are hanging out, there is one that is forced to perform by playing the piano. He is made to perform while the other versions of JAX mess with Pomni. When Pomni asks where the real JAX is, the cartoonish villain JAX tells her that she will get nowhere with asking questions like that. But she persists and asks for the key to the locked door in the room with them. All of the personas claim that they do not have it and slowly disappear, for it then to be revealed that the performing JAX has stopped his playing. Pomni notices this performing JAX is quite literally shackled to the piano. Shackled to the performance. And I so truly believe in my heart that this is meant to convey that those versions of JAX, those projections of them, were the personas he developed as a coping mechanism for their denial. It is the JAX that was made to perform all this time that finally gives Pomni the key to the room, to JAX's psyche, to everything about him. And he looks so vulnerable and afraid. Gooseworks is a trans woman that has told a story about many things, but one of them happens to be about this character. This trans woman trapped in her own states of denial and shame, and how that eventually eats away at her psyche and makes her into a horrible person. It's a story about how all the self-hatred and shame and fear can make someone like JAX. During the same Pride Month that we've had a movie release in which a non-binary character is hate crimed for laughs in the Scary Movie reboot, we have this movie release. This movie that tells a queer story, a trans story, without ever uttering the words outright. That tells us the story of this trans woman that doesn't really have anything figured out yet. She's still caught up in just trying to survive without the shame and the self-hatred. She does not understand or accept herself and pushes anyone away who may get close to protect the part of her that was harmed by her unaccepting parents. This is a trans woman that doesn't use pronouns that align with how she feels inside, and refuses to do any of the work to accept their transness, their otherness. This is a trans story that shows what being trans and in denial about it is like. It shows the fear and the panic one can feel when they know that they don't quite match what they look like on the outside. It's so fucking raw, it's so fucking real, and as a trans person, this finale had me absolutely bawling. I currently live in a small state and community, and I mentor a lot of trans youth in my area as a grown trans person, and the way I know that this finale will resonate so hardly with them. God. Now, with everything I've presented here, there's still people out there that still don't get it, or even worse, are outright denying the trans themes trans folk are pointing out in this story. And honestly, I just gotta say that I think that people are having a hard time accepting this idea because, putting it as frankly as possible, their furry boy toy turned out to be a trans woman and they cannot accept that they were attracted to a trans character. And look, I know saying this is gonna get me some mad and salty comments, but I just personally think it's the truth. Here is a comment with a perspective that I identify with a lot. I agree with you, but I couldn't get through the whole video. Partly because hearing about and seeing that kind of violence against trans women is painful, but also because it kind of hurts that this is even an interpretation that needs to be argued for. I was saying for months ahead of the finale that TADC's direction with JAX didn't make any sense to me if she wasn't a trans woman. I bought tickets day one because I wanted to see a transgender rabbit on the silver screen, and I got exactly that. Yet I go online and I see a frankly soul-crushing amount of people who completely missed it. People have been making me feel like I'm losing my mind for thinking that the cartoon led by a trans woman has a load-bearing arc about being a trans woman. It felt like playing Isn't She Lovely over a montage of JAX is the most grotesquely on-the-nose way to get the point across, and I was in the theater thinking, wow, it's awesome that they went this far with it. And it's still not explicit enough for so many people. Like, your video is good. I am not complaining about the fact that you made a video. I'm complaining about the fact that media literacy for trans subtext is so lacking and dire that this was not already universally understood. This comment perfectly encapsulates why some trans fans are finding the way that people are interacting with the finale as exhausting, because it's another example of our lives, our feelings, our experiences being totally ignored. And for what? Folks desperate for some sort of funny bunny pairing confirmation? Because seriously, how are fans seeing the Isn't She Lovely number in the finale as anything but confirmation of JAX's trans femme nature? I've seen a vast amount of people online saying that the song being included was about Jax and Pomni's relationship, or that it was Jax's perspective of Pomni, and I'm just kind of like, where are y'all seeing this? Because no, guys, it's Pomni seeing Jax for who they are. Like, I honestly really didn't think someone would need to break this down for people, but here's more parts of Jax's story that allude to a transgender story if this isn't enough for you. Jax was homeless, and it was a direct result of Jax telling their mother something personal about themselves. The reason that so many trans folks are homeless is because they are kicked out and ostracized by their family units. There's also literally this piece of concept art back from before the inception of the show. Progesterone is a hormone used in gender-affirming care for trans women and trans feminine individuals. Progesterone works by binding to specific cellular receptors throughout the body, altering hormone levels and influencing tissue development. While estrogen handles the majority of physical feminization, progesterone acts as a secondary balancing hormone, and for many is key in their gender transition. There's also the science of being a trans woman in denial that I've already stated, engaging in overcompensatory behaviors. The ideas of doing gender freaky stuff ironically, the depersonalization, and then there's of course the very clear symbolic references to I Saw the TV Glow with the pink, mind you, the pink streetlight. You heard me say I saw the TV glow earlier, and in case you don't know exactly what this is referencing, I Saw the TV Glow is a 2024 horror fantasy that has quickly become known in queer communities to have a deep, intentional metaphor for the transgender experience, specifically gender dysphoria, and this liberating but horrifying moment of realizing one's true identity. The central allegory of seeing the TV glow focuses on this terrifying but liberating moment when someone unrepresses their true self and realizes that they are trans. The director of this film directly described this realization as a survival mechanism that must eventually be shattered. And, funny enough, the horror of the film I Saw the TV Glow doesn't come from something monstrous, no, not at all, but from a life left unlived. It explores the devastating consequences of repressing your truth and conforming to the societal expectations because of fear. And does that not sound similar to the fate that JAX meets here? And if still, after all of this, you are still wanting to deny it, still wanting to say you don't get it, well, how genuinely do you explain this, deniers? The furry bunny you thought was hot is a trans woman. Guess what? You can still think she's hot. No one's gonna come after you, buddy. It's okay. Anyway, enough taunting the deniers. Thank you for this story, Gooseworks. It's so hard and sad to know that JAX, this form of Leroy Mateo that we all know and love, or hate, never got to experience an existence where she was able to accept herself. But God, does that bittersweet feeling of hope creep in when you realize they are frequenting Riley's gay bar, because let's just say it, it's a gay bar, okay? And that maybe, with the right community around them, soon Leroy will be comfortable enough to come out of the darkness of denial and shame and into the everlasting and radiant light of trans joy. Happy Pride Month, Gooseworks. Happy Pride Month, Glitch. Happy Pride Month, JAX. And happy Pride always to all, but happy Pride especially to any of you that feel unsafe to be prideful. It doesn't always have to feel that way, and you are not alone. I truly hope for the day that you can join us in trans joy. It will always be here waiting for you. The light will always be on, and the glow will always be there. Thank you so much for watching, and always, take care of yourself. Hey, so thanks for making it to the end card. If you did make it this far, I do have a couple more things for you. I just really gotta say thank you to everyone that gave me so much love and hype for the original Egg Theory video, because it allowed me to be able to sign up for the YouTube Partner Program, and like 13-year-old me that's inside of adult me thinks that that's like so freaking cool. So sincerely thank you for watching, listening, and subscribing. Any bit of interaction with my videos and thoughts I so sincerely appreciate from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. You freaks and geeks mean the world to me. So with that being said, so like I've never done this before, but if you don't know, I'm an artist, and if you like this recreation of this shot from the finale I drew, you can totally buy it over at my print shop as like a cool poster to hang in your room or office. I don't know, whatever your heart's content. I'm not good at this. I have all sorts of fan art and queer-coded art over there at pedalandfang.myshopify.com. Feel free to check it out. It will be linked in the description and on my channel. You can also follow me over on TikTok and Blue Sky to see more of me. No pressure there for any of these things I'm mentioning, of course, but if you do check any of it out, thanks. It helps me out a lot. As always, to returning viewers, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and let me know what you'd like to hear from me. But that's all I got for you. Happy Pride to all, and as always, please take care of yourself.